councillors, staff, Ken Whitcroft, 1044 Inverness Road. Just speaking to F3, I support the recommendation of the funds in that because this is long time needed. There's a lot of these local area plans that are so far out of date that they are just irrelevant to today's society and in actions. So I'm giving my support. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Really quickly, Susan Belford, 3840 Roland Avenue. Yay, local area plans, yay! Very excited that these are going to be dealt with. And yes, the more person power and resources you can put to getting them done effectively and quickly, the better, I think, for all of Saanich. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wish to speak? You don't have to be a president of the community association to come forward. It's nice if you do.
Good evening. Marcia Henderson, 660 Goyette Road, speaking as president of Royal Oak Community Association. As you're aware, Saanich has 5 areas identified as center/corridors. 4 are grouped along the boundary with Victoria, and 1 is on its own in the center of Saanich. That's the Royal Oak Center Broadmead Village area. Page 34 of tonight's information package shows the status of center/corridor planning areas. Of 5 center corridors, 4 have some level of planning status. Royal Oak is the last of 5. Every other area has some level of plan status. Royal Oak shows as no plans developed for this geography. Page 35 of tonight's information package shows Royal Oak as 8 out of 10 on proposed order of updates. On page 36 is a table called Initial Summary and Scoring of Prioritization Criteria, and this uses historical data to try and predict future need. On this chart, Royal Oak shows 3 developments in 5 years, with a projected dwelling increase of 7 based on that. Historical data is a big part of what's used to determine Royal Oak's priority in the update process. But what's current is 6 projects upcoming, all with some real impact on Royal Oak. The Royal Oak Shopping Centre upgrade, which I confirmed today, plans should be forthcoming within the year, has potential to bring more residents and traffic to our area. There's a BC Hydro property upgrade adjacent to the shopping centre that's planned soon. There are townhouse development plans on Lower Viewmont in behind the shopping centre, and these are in process. There's a residential condo development on West Saanich Road adjacent to the shopping centre, and that's in process. The St. Vincent de Paul Rosalie's Village project across the street from the shopping centre has begun construction, and the Trevino Lane development just up the road from the shopping centre continues active construction. Royal Oak in general is welcoming of these projects. Our residents are deeply concerned that planning be equipped to be prepared in advance of any changes these upgrades and developments may bring. Specifically, numerous residents of Ferry Road, West Saanich, and Viewmont have expressed concerns both to myself and through the Royal Oak Community Association. The concern is that by the time the local area plan for Royal Oak is up for review, most of these projects will have been completed and will have missed opportunities to address and resolve issues in advance, and we may be looking instead at trying to fix problems. My ask, on behalf of Royal Oak Community Association, is that Council please consider allocating adequate manpower and resources to the Planning Department so they're equipped to be prepared in advance of changes these upgrades and developments may bring to Royal Oak. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Please come forward.
Mayor and Council, staff, D. Rep. Norris, 520 Beaver Lake Road. A healthy community is defined as one that is continuously working to improve its environmental, social, economic, and cultural well-being. Community planning needs to be a continuous process and an ongoing dialogue, not just an occurrence once every 10 or 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mark Adams, 3925 Ansel Road, also Vice President of Montana Community Association. Just a kind of a quick housekeeping query. There's a pretty big agenda package today, and I couldn't quite find a table of contents, so it's kind of hard to scroll through it all. Unless I'm missing something, there was a table of contents page. Anyways, yeah, I found it. Because a lot of scrolling. It's a pretty quick device. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to these items? Please come forward. Calling for a second time, any members of the public that wish to speak? Calling for a third time? All right, I'm closing the public input period, and then we'll move on to the next item. I want to thank everyone that came to speak, and in the short time I've been here this week, I've had 8 community association presidents come to the microphone in one meeting. Probably not a record, but it's nice to see everyone here representing their communities. So with that, we'll move to item number E, resolutions for adoption. Madam Clerk, please introduce the first item.
This item is related to the Cedar Hill Golf Course upgrades. There's a report from the Director of Parks and Recreation recommending that Council endorse the Finance Audit and Personnel Committee recommendations from the September 3rd, 2015 meeting regarding initiatives at the Cedar Hill Golf Course.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on the recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Let's move to the next item. Recommendations from committees. Item 1, please.
The next item is the Community Grants Program Review. There's a recommendation from the September 3rd Finance Audit and Personnel Standing Committee meeting that Council incorporate the review of the Community Grants Program into the development of new policy on financial plan consultation.
Another recommendation. I was going to say there's another recommendation before us. Any discussion on the recommendation? Just for the audience, the recommendation is that the committee recommend council that review of the community grants program is incorporated into the development of new policy on financial plan consultation. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item, please.
The second item is utility bill penalties follow-up. This is a recommendation from the September 3rd Finance Audit and Personnel Standing Committee meeting that Council confirmed the original recommendation from the June 1st meeting.
Any discussion? Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, for those colleagues at this table and also to the public, we were asked to review this penalty component of our utility service, and the members of the Finance Audit and Personnel Committee, in comparing what we have to what the other municipalities have, recommended what was put before us. For those people who are concerned that Saanich is out of line, I would indicate to you that we are matching what other municipalities are doing, and that if you are late at any one time on a payment, or if there's an accidental forgetting or somewhat other challenge, you can apply for and get, without any question, a one-time exemption from that penalty. So if you make a mistake, we're human, it can happen. But I don't think that this is out of line, and therefore I don't feel bad that the Finance Audit Personnel Committee recommended the same schedule for late fees, etc.
Thank you, Councilor Haynes.
Through the mayor, yeah, on this point, we took it back to committee and we discussed it at length, and we did a wider environmental scan, and many of the other municipalities have a 30-day period of payment. We have a 45-day. So in actual fact, in some ways, we're gentler than the other municipalities. It was discussed at length. It did seem to be in fact better than some of the other municipalities.
Yeah.
No, I think you got it. Thank you. We did discuss it at length. We have a 45-day period. It's better than a 30-day period.
Councillor Bryce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the individual who moved originally to have the committee review it again, I want to thank the committee for taking the time to review it. I've written between the lines, which is I told you so. And I get it. And I want to thank the staff for putting together the additional information. I did find it justified finding that sort of sweet spot between making sure that you didn't have people who actually paid their bills, have to subsidize people who were recalcitrant and this type of thing, and I think it's a policy that is justifiable and makes sense. So I thank you for your time and plan to support it this time around.
Councillor Dermott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support this, but I did have one question, and perhaps that is directed at staff. I wondered if there is a time frame associated with the one-time exemption. I'm thinking of a long-term resident of Saanich who, has a problem forgetting or whatever payment, and we come back and say, well, 25 years ago you had an exemption. Seems a little bit absurd, so I'm wondering, do we have some sort of time frame associated with it?
Through the mayor to Councillor German, this is a one-time exemption per property, per owner.
I would suggest that we may want to at some point look at not a short time period, but something like for a decade or something of that nature. We do have a lot of residents in Saanich that are very long-term and probably will continue to have some.
Councillor Plant?
Oh, jeez. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you very much. Question through you, Mr. Mayor. If we wish to make an amendment, question through you to our municipal clerk, if we wish to make an amendment to allow this to be revisited as every 10 years, where would that best occur? Tonight or back at FAP?
Interesting. And through the mayor, yes, Councillor Plant, I would think that a conversation back at the Finance Audit Personnel Committee. Bella, would you like to weigh in? Thank you.
If I may, if there is a desire for an amendment, if we want to add in 10 years to send it back to FAP would delay us until October. We would be back in November. We would like to get, if this is a go forward, we would like to get processes in place so that we can implement this January 1st, 2016, so that we have a clean cutover. So I think if we were able to pass a motion that said every 10 years, we would be able to incorporate that into the bylaw.
Having heard that, and my colleague Councillor Dermott, I will move an amendment that this exemption to give a reversal include 2F, permitted once every 10 years.
Anyone seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Rubin. Any more discussion? Councillor Dermott?
Yeah, if the amendment is going to delay it, I'm probably not going to vote for the amendment. And the reason being that we have 10 years to make the amendment. I mean, if it starts January 1st, somebody will, won't get an exemption for a second time until 10 years in the future. So we have a long time to do that, and we can certainly make it retroactive.
Councillor Berlo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm with Councillor Dermott. I think we've got lots of time to consider amendments. This has been through Finance, Audit and Personnel twice. It's been to this committee or to the council chamber twice. I'd be very reluctant to make a change at this point. I think it's obviously well vetted and supported. I'd like to see it move forward, and if there is a desire to amend it in the next 10 years, I think we certainly have time to consider that.
Councillor Berglund?
Just for clarification, are we saying that council cannot make an amendment to a committee report?
Through the mayor, no, that's not what we're saying. We are actually proposing an amendment to the proposed bylaw that would come forward, or to the policy. So that is what's on the floor right now, is a motion to amend.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Platt?
Thank you. No, I'll just use my loud voice. So, because I have a little bit of careful curiosity, my understanding from the Director of Finance is that there was not going to be a delay, as inferred by Councillor Dermott, if we approved it tonight. Is that correct? Thank you. So if we can't agree that we would offer it every 10 years tonight, I mean, if we can agree to that, then we don't need to revisit it. So I would say do it now, and then it's one less thing we have to worry about not remembering to do it in 10 years.
So I think I'll support the amendment just for simplicity's sake. I chair that committee. It's a committee that's set up by the mayor to delegate responsibility and to have decisions made at that committee and then recommendations made to council. As the previous reports that we were looking at didn't really cover this concept, I don't think we'll get much back from staff in terms of data unless we go out and do an environmental scan on the other municipalities. I don't think there's an appetite for that. So I think it's something to be easily passed here tonight. With that, I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Barwick is opposed. The amendment passes. And with that, we'll move to the motion. There's no more discussion. Call the question on the motion amended. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, that will move to item number 3.
The next item is local area plan updates. The recommendation from the June 11th Planning, Transportation and Economic Development Advisory Committee that Council consider allocating adequate manpower and resources to the Planning Department for updating local area plans.
Before I ask council for their input, if I can call the Director of Planning to just respond to the comments that came from Ms. Henderson about the Roanoke status in our report.
I'm wondering if that might be just better to defer to later in the evening, because we do have a presentation which explains the ranking, and then obviously members of the public can comment on that, if that works for you.
It does for me, Chef. Yeah. Questions, Councilor Bryce?
I'm going to move, following a good suggestion from a member of the public, that this item be deferred until after item 5.
All the batteries are going dead with the long gap between council meetings.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Councilor Bryce?
Having picked the suggestion, I'm now wondering, moving something from council to committee of the whole might just be a little too much choreography. So, suggestion please from staff as to how we can do this. Stay.
Newmark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
For the clerk for direction, because while we didn't officially approve the agenda at the start of the meeting, we have got into the meeting already. It's been advertised as such.
We
and
did.
Spoken as such.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor, but a motion to refer to committee would be fine. So if we could treat this as a motion to refer to committee of the whole, I think that would be appropriate.
If the seconder's agreement, I'll change the wording to refer it to committee of the whole.
If I may.
Councilor Haynes?
We did not know the number of items coming forward to the agenda when we made the detailed motion. Perhaps if we'd have known, we'd have chosen the approach that I would support.
Any more discussion? Call the question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. All right. Let's move to item number G, reports from the members of council and community contributions.
This is a report from Councillor Brannock dated September 1st, recommending that council direct planning staff to prepare a report reviewing a full range of options related to community contributions, and that such work be captured in the 2016 strategic plan.
Councilor Brannock?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the recommendation. If someone will second it, I'll speak to it, please. Thanks. So I bring this forward because Saanich, we've looked at this in the past, but I really bring it forward because I think it's not fair to applicants when they stand at the microphone and we're all trying to figure out what sort of community amenity contribution they should be making. And it was last year, 2014, that the ministry actually did a guideline for municipalities. So, and I've also heard from the development industry that really all they want from us is they just need to know what we're after. So a number of our colleagues in the province have adopted various community amenity contributions or community contributions, and I've listed a few here, Langford and others. So I think it's just time for Saanich to get back into that and have a review. We have a number of villages and whatnot with density happening, and so I wanted to get this into our strat plan as we start to talk about that at the end of the year. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The second I'd like to speak to?
Yeah. I think this is a very good suggestion, and it's actually one that several people have spoken to me about on the same idea, because with the development community, or anybody standing here, they need a degree of certainty. A degree of certainty means they know what is coming down the road and they can plan for it. It's when there's lack of certainty that can stretch timelines of applications being approved, and it can make people wonder what they need to prepare for when they don't know, and when the ground changes in the process. So I think this is a great report, and presented us. Thank you.
Councillor Wortland, and then Dermott, and then Bryce.
Thank you very much. When I was on PTAC, we brought it forward about, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and the council, in our wisdom, decided not to go ahead with it. And I really do think, as a council, we have to decide which way we want to go. Do we want to create an amenity package so applicants know when they start the process some certainty as to what the costs and the expectations are? Or do we want to continue to where we have been, where we wait until the 11th hour and then we leave them out to hang, so to speak? And I don't think we can have it both ways. I think council, before we send it anywhere, I think council has to decide if they're prepared to live with an amenity package. I don't think we can have both and that's what the industry is concerned about, that we'll set up an amenity package, but when they come, we'll have our own little package waiting for them. And that's the reality of it, and that's the concern out there. And I believe there should be an amenity package in place. But before we have staff running off like we did 3 or 4 years ago, putting something together, I think council has to make a decision. Which way do we want to go? It's as simple as that. And it just takes 2 minutes to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dermott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support this initiative, but I do have a couple of comments and cautions. One is, there is some element of certainty here that is important to the development industry. By far the most important element of certainty they need is visionary long-term planning, which we will look at in a few items down the road on the behalf of council, so that they know where we intend to go, and then they can tailor their projects and applications on where we intend to go. And of course, local area plans and other plans that are 20 years out of date don't serve them very well in that respect, and that's why we need to do that long-term visionary planning. So that's the certainty they really need. We can quantify this to a certain degree, and I'm supportive of that, and I'm agreeable to it. We are never going to be able to say to them when they walk in the door, this is the amenity package you will have to give, because each project is somewhat different, and different circumstances occur. For example, when a couple of smaller condominiums went in on Borden, the Community Association of North Quadrant undertook to itself to negotiate with the developer, and resulted in a sidewalk amenity for the neighborhood on the street worth about $500,000, which is probably way above most anything that we would normally ask for. But the developer was willing, and it resulted in a very substantial amenity, and we didn't ask for much amenity other than that. The province, a number of years ago, decided that during the rezoning process, council was empowered to ask for whatever it wanted to and to negotiate with the developer. and different projects that will be sometimes different things. So I think this is good. I think we will be able to quantify some things and say, in the normal process, we would expect a contribution to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of yay, whatever it might be, but that won't happen all the time. Sometimes we may go to a developer and say, in your case, we would like to see if we could include a couple of units that are within your larger condominium, or 5 units or whatever, that actually become low-cost housing units. And maybe we make a contribution from a fund, and he makes a contribution, he or she makes a contribution as well. So there will always be some of this need to tailor in the project. Nevertheless, to the degree that we can quantify it, I think we should. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor Bryce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's an excellent initiative. I want to thank Councillor Brownoff for bringing it forward. I think we've all felt uneasy as we've sort of tried to represent the public and get something good for the public and still be fair to the development community. As the staff considers this, I think we have to acknowledge that if we do want certainty for the developer, there are amenities that are community amenities, but then there are some that are project amenities. And as we have, over the last few years, for instance, in the community amenities, I can think of recent projects where we've got, contribution to affordable housing, daycare space, sidewalks, even on that Inverness and Cloverdale project, the coffee shop, definitely community amenities. But then, when there are other amenities, sort of project amenities, and I put this as the sort of transit option, when somebody is asking for a parking reduction, and therefore it triggers a chance to have some kind of a transit pass, that's not a community amenity, that is definitely a project amenity. Same with the 2-for-1 tree replacement and so on. So I think that for the package that ultimately the developers want to see, they want to know basically, bottom line, what do I owe? And I think they're going to have to, not just because they meet the community amenity, but there may be project amenities which basically they put in there to sort of sell their project. Or we have times which are exceptional, and I think that project at Tillicum and Burnside was an example where it was a rental development, which in and of itself was considered such a great contribution for the general community that you could almost consider it a community amenity because it went totally rental. And I think council did consider relaxing some of the requirements because of that. So I do think there are more kind of aspects to it than just basically, these will be the community amenities and it's this amount triggered by whatever circumstances. I think if it's going to be a valuable document for our development community, we should put out there as much as we know about their project, but also lay open the fact that, they're going to want to also enhance their project for their own marketing reasons and also to make their project as attractive to the public and to councils in order to get it through. So I would be looking for a sort of fairly comprehensive report on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to quickly say thank you to Councillor Brownoff for bringing this forward. I know Councillor Goodwin had in the past as well, and I think it's long overdue, and our developing industry needs to know what we are looking for. And it is often community-based, and perhaps in our local area planning process too, we'll be able to sort of earmark what different communities are looking for as well. I think of the sidewalk situation that Councillor Durham refers to. That same applicant did sidewalks in the Mount Tony area as well, and was a great success. And so that worked in those situations. So I thank you for bringing this forward. I think it will make things a lot easier at the mic and during the planning process.
Councillor Brown, if you hand up again.
Just for clarification, for my council members, that's why I worded it full range of options. And I think, having heard some of our comments, and I've heard it before, that's why it's key for staff to know that we're looking at the full range of options. Thank you. The mics are on.
Councillor Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I consider myself one of the lucky councillors that has a working microphone this evening. I'll try not to abuse the privilege. I just want, like my colleagues, I wanted to thank Councillor Brownell for putting this on the agenda. I think we have all been keen to see something formalized so that we don't end up doing what's often referred to as horse trading at the microphone. At the time of the application. So certainly in the name of certainty, I'm pleased to see something coming forward in writing. What I wanted to hone in on was the penultimate paragraph, the last one in the body before the recommendation, is about talking to our stakeholders. I think the guidelines from the ministry are terrific, but of course this is a made in Saanich solution, and it will be critical that we go out and talk to the development community, but also our community associations, residents, those folks who will be most affected by whatever council eventually comes up with in terms of a policy. So I look forward to that process. I think it will be certainly a learning opportunity for us in terms of what the expectations are and how we balance that with housing affordability and the costs of development in our community. So thanks to Councillor Brownhoff, and I look forward to this coming forward.
Great. Also like to say, thank you, Cole. I'm also in favor of this motion. Any certainty that we can give to our developers and to our community, to the neighbors that live beside the developments,